All right, in studio with me is Rachel Cruze. First of all, thanks for coming and doing this.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me.
I am excited about this for a couple of reasons. I have grandkids, and the book that you've written here we're talking about has to do with teaching kids about gratitude. Can you explain why this topic?
Yes. So I have 3 little ones at home, and they're 9, 6, and 4. And I teach about money and talk about money for my job, right? So I'm usually talking to the adults, the parents usually,
Sure.
about budgeting, getting out of debt, and all of it. And as I'm raising my kids, I'm like, man, there is the tactical side of money with kids, which is really important for them to learn. But there's also these emotional topics, whether it's gratitude, contentment, generosity. There's these, the way that you view money, even on an emotional side, is as important as the tactical side. So I just knew as a mom, I read so many books to my kids as bedtime, and you're in your routine, and I just found nothing out there that touched on these subjects. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. I've written enough to adults. I'm going to go to the kids now.
Isn't it? But I never thought of it this way, but if the kids see money differently when it comes to gratitude and being thankful, it's got to change their attitude toward life in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you think about adults who are grateful people. For the most part, what I find is they usually are content people. Mm-hmm. And how that kind of like merges with your money habits. And content people, they don't spend as much. They can sacrifice their lifestyle to get out of debt. They live within their means, right? Everything that I'm like, there's such this part of money that is so key. And when our kids learn that, and that their basis of gratitude starts with that foundation, it's huge.
Long before radio, for me, my gratitude came from, I owned a business. I was an electrical contractor. And when the economy went south, I lost everything.
Yeah.
And I remember that time of not being terrified I couldn't pay my bills and climbing out of that hole. And now I'm grateful and I pay my bills early, and it's actually a pleasant experience because I know what it's like to be fearful that you can't.
Yes. And what that was for you was perspective, right?
Sure.
And our little ones, they may not have, right, obviously these massive stories, but as they go through life, I think they can go back to pinpoint, okay, where's that foundation that mom and dad talked about? Mm-hmm. What is that thing that I need to go back to that I've heard? And again, no one's perfect, right? It's going to take time to build that. But I think those conversations are so important.
Yeah, and the perspective at a young age has got to be, it's ingrained in those formative years.
Yes.
So let's talk about the financial side of this. When should parents be talking to their children? At what age? And then what's appropriate for the age that they start learning gratitude and about finance?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can start conversations with your kids and showing them about money. I mean, I think as young as like 3, 4 years old. I have a 4-year-old at home, and he knows that if he does certain chores, we pay them. And so that is one thing, growing up, that's what my parents did. And I kind of love that philosophy of that foundation of understanding where money comes from. Money doesn't just come from mom and dad's back pocket. It comes from work. And so you can implement that age appropriately, when they're little. And then as they, get to be 6, 7, 8 years old, then they can start to learn, okay, once I make money, I give first, save second, spend third. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, it's really simple things like that. And then obviously as they get older in high school, I think even sharing bills or showing them and sharing, hey, this is what we pay to run a household, right? Bringing them into the conversations. And then, I mean, even things, Mike, like investing, and I'm thankful I grew up in a family, which my dad's Dave Ramsey, so he does this all the time. Yeah, he does it all the time. So I may have a little bit of the curve, but they really did a good job of just like, what is a mutual fund, right? And like explaining how things work, compound interest, all of this. So again, it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to explain a mutual fund to a 4-year-old. Start with the basics, but there is something about having money be a conversation point in the household, just like other things in life.
Do you think we do kids a disservice by not teaching finance in schools, or do you think it's better taught in the principles of the parents at home, or is it both?
I think it's both. I think the sole responsibility, I think it is the parents' responsibility, right? We have these children in our home. It's our job to raise them up, to go out into society and succeed. That is our primary job. But also, if a school is behind that, if a church is behind that, right? Other organizations that your kids are a part of, if they're teaching good financial principles to them, what a gift. And we're finding that there are many states now mandating financial literacy. So there's legislation that's being passed all across the country that you actually have to have a personal finance credit in order to graduate high school, which is amazing. So we're seeing, schools stepping up in that way. But parents, I do encourage them to step in as well.
So the book is kind of the ground floor of the gratitude piece of things in life, to be grateful for things. And from that, all of these other life lessons flow later in life.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a pretty basic message. I mean, it's obviously for little kids. And I thought, when I write a book about gratitude, I could write it on manners, to say thank you, all of that. But I was like, I've learned in my life the things that money can't buy, that's like the ultimate gratitude. That's the centerpiece, right? Which is our family, our household. And so that's what this book really points to.
So when parents read it to their kids, do you have parents that reach out to you and say, man, I wish I'd have heard this when I was a kid? The parents are getting it when they read it, correct?
Yes, because that was another thing. As a mom, as I'm reading books, the ones that I love are messages to me, right? It's written for the kids, but you get something as the parent. So that is one thing at the end of this. It's just kind of that sweet reminder that it's the stuff that money can't buy that really does bring us joy.
Tell us the title of the book, and you're going to be at a book signing today, and where people can get it if they can't go to the book signing.
Yes, so it's I'm Glad for Where I Am, and you can get it at rachelcruze.com or Amazon, and I'll be at the Barnes & Noble in Desert Ridge from 1 to 2 today. So come out, say hi, and I'd love to meet everyone.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You are the epitome of the apple not falling far from the tree, aren't you?
I picked up a little bit of the torch, but
which is great.
I really enjoy it. My family, their story is of bankruptcy. I was born that year, and that they filed, and I just see that money's such a stressful topic for people. And I feel like Ramsey Solutions, we've done a great job of giving people very specific, tangible instructions on what to do, but also the encouragement and the hope that you can. Anyone can, right? I mean, even talking to you.
Yeah.
What you were doing before this, now you have your dream job. I'm like, there is still hope alive out there, right? And so that is one thing that we want to convey.
All right, the book is I'm Glad for Where I Am. You can go to rachelcruze.com, is that correct, or Amazon? Barnes & Noble at Desert Ridge. Pick it up. You want to give a great gift to your kids or your grandkids, life lessons, and a fun book to read. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching The Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.